if I am authentic, if I am honest with myself when speaking something, people do follow you at times. People really
Absolutely.
value things. If kids are not enjoying this, it's not worth playing. No one
Right.
really thought kids can really code. And when I learned coding, I really felt like I could have learned it in class 12th. College is too late. I don't like it should have started earlier because it's not about the skills, it's about the mindset. Focus is not like
Hmm.
where the money is coming from. Focus is where the money is going. Education is a very interesting market, but it's a very sensitive market too. It's not something you're selling cars, right?
Right.
Our idea of education is that if you're learning something new, it should empowers you to do something more.
Hello, everyone. Today we have Shailendra with us. Shailendra is IIT Delhi BTech graduate, and for initial part of his career, he went on to work for a couple of product roles, and then he started Codeyoung. Codeyoung is pretty interesting concept. It's an e-learning platform that provides live online interactive classes and interactive coding classes to the school kids. Right. So join me to welcome Shailendra. Shailendra, welcome to the show.
Thank you, man. Thank you for having me on the show. Looking forward for a nice conversation which can
Perfect.
help.
Perfect. Definitely. So, Shailendra, this is pretty interesting concept, right? And as I said, I was very excited to know how you guys operate and function in this space. So,
Mhm.
help us with your background. I mean, like your early days at IIT and your sequence of event that led you to take this unconventional path. If you can talk about that.
Sure, sure. So I entered IIT Delhi in 2014. I was born and brought up in Gwalior. It's a much smaller town than Delhi.
Uh-huh.
It's near Delhi, like 5 hours away from Delhi. It's the first time I went out of my hometown when I came
Okay.
to my college.
Uh-huh.
Uh, and then when in these small towns and the kind of school I went, I really did not have that kind of exposure which I got in IIT Delhi. So it was very exciting. I think one of the fondest memory I had was when I just first entered IIT Delhi. Reason being that we worked really hard for it, and it was
Mm.
always considered to be very tough to get into.
Right.
When
Absolutely.
when I went there, and the initial days were great. I think the place really humbled me in the start. Really gave me a
Uh-huh.
very tough, but eventually it made me more mature. It added like perseverance to my character, and it made me feel more confident. Uh,
Mm.
so that's the kind of curve it takes you through. There, even I learned a lot beyond classroom. I'll say uh, because I was in a new city, um, and that too for the first time. I looked for about, and I never did any dance, drama, music. I really
Okay.
appreciate it, but I never had this kind of exposure. So what to do
Uh-huh.
in sports wise, I was very skinny, very not very athletic. So even sports was something that I couldn't do. So I actually got into social services there,
Okay.
which allowed me to go out of the campus and say
Hmm.
that was the whole motivation in the start. But eventually, what happened is that when I kind of interacted with a lot of people, my personality started changing. I realized
Right.
that if I just overcome my shyness and just say what I have to say, people listen. And if I am authentic, if I am honest with myself when speaking something, people do follow you at times. People really
Absolutely.
value things. So that's how I became a person who, from an introvert to an introvert slash extrovert,
Uh-huh.
uh, had a bit of a confidence in like how can you get people around and get things done in a direction where you want them to be. So that was my initial ID days where I think it shaped me well, and it gave me a confidence that whenever I will have an opportunity, I'll be able to build a team someday and do what I want, or be a part of any team and do some great work. So that is what IT Delhi did for me. And second thing, what it did for me is opened up the world for me. So I actually could
Right.
think a lot, like reflect
Hmm.
on things, caution a lot about things, which was not there earlier. Earlier, you have to be single mindedly focused on getting into a certain college, get a job. But there, I started questioning a lot of things, like what I want to do in this world. What are the kind of environments I enjoy? So that's what IT Delhi did for me. which eventually helped me start a company.
Great, great. Why did you start Codeyoung? I mean, if you can talk about that.
So, as I said, how my college helped me is that I started thinking about the world, like what are the things I'm not okay with? What are the things I believe should not be
Right.
the way they are? And there are
Mhm.
many such things even today, which I feel like it should not be the way it is right now. One such thing was um, the skill gap that I saw in graduates when they came out of college. So
Mm,
uh, I had the opportunity to learn from one of the best institutes in the
right.
country, and I was decently good in studies. But when I graduated, I really felt very hollow in terms of skills. I really
Mm,
realized that people are really giving you a job because of your potential, like what you can do, but ultimately you don't know much.
mm,
Uh, that kind of like troubled me. I just felt like 14 years of school, 4 years of college, and here I am with no skill. If like I can't imagine such a thing, say 400 years back. Maybe you were doing just farming, but by the age of 22, you were a good farmer. But here, I am good for nothing. Okay, I have a degree. I'll get a job. I'll do make some living. I'm mature. I've learned
right.
social. That is all fine. But somewhere, such a huge investment from my family and from government.
Mm,
Like I was into a bit
right.
of research when I was in IIT Delhi. I was doing a bit of research in physics. I knew how much resources government spent on these labs. Uh,
Mm,
so I was just like, something is not right. Second thing is, I'm usually a very curious person. Um, I have this like, if I get to know about something, I Google things a lot. Like it
okay.
sounds very weird, but you will be surprised how less people do that. If I get to know
Mm,
a word which I don't know about, I instantly Google. I instantly
right.
read something about it.
The
Uh,
curiosity.
yes, and coding is something that really fascinated me when I got introduced to it first time. But as I said, I got exposed to so many things, and I really found my calling in just driving these projects out of this classroom. And in classroom, I was in physics, so I could
Right.
not never be as good as I wanted to be in coding, and
Mm,
that the motivation that maybe let's just try introduce these skills to school students, not college. In college, everything is about getting a nice decent job.
right.
Nobody really focuses on anything else. And you already have a social pressure, like in the sense
Mm,
you have friends, girlfriends, boyfriends. You still, are not in that phase. But in school, you have a lot of energy, a lot of creativity. So I wanted to introduce this to kids, and I want to understand from parents and kids whether parents are willing to open up their kids to learn something like this, or whether uh, kids will enjoy this. If kids are not enjoying this, it's not worth doing.
right.
That was also one of the founding principles that we started with, and that's how we started Codeyoung. Eventually, things we learned a lot more than we knew, and we evolved into a one-on-one live learning platform where we train our teachers in a certain way, build curriculum with a certain philosophy, and ensure that kids learn something, but they also enjoy and they also feel like I love that class. They can say
Right.
to the I love that class, even if we are teaching something in maths. So eventually it evolved, but this is how it started.
Hmm. Great, great. There's one question that came into my mind, like how did you find the product market fit in this? Because I believe Codeyoung were like first few players that started with in this space. So help us understanding, like how did you identify the product market fit, and people actually needed it to convince the parents that their kid need a coding classes is challenge in itself, right? Because
Yeah.
specifically in India, we assume that the first few years they get into, let's say, play school. They no Parents want to nurture their kids in a completely different way, but bringing this coding into the space, and in coding into the idea of coding is completely new, specifically for these young kids, right? So how did you find the product market fit, and if you can talk about that.
Sure. So I'll tell you my thoughts about product market fit. I believe
Mhm.
that unless a product already has at least a niche market, at least
Mhm.
a good number of people already want a product, you cannot really go around and educate the market. It's really
Mm.
an uphill task, which is very difficult for a fragile early age startup, no matter the
Right.
funding you have.
Hmm.
You know, stages usually they don't have that much that kind of funding. So, uh, so my idea was, even though I want to do this, but I want to understand what parents think.
Hmm.
Parents are not on board on this. No matter how much I want it, no matter how much I
Hmm.
think it should happen, but it's going to be an uphill task, and I might not pursue it. But when I talk to the first set of parents,
Hmm.
I told them that, see, I have a program which I want to enroll, and this is, I'm talking about October, November 2019. So
Okay.
was an unheard of things.
Right. Right. We never heard about this concept altogether.
Exactly. We only heard that Mark Zuckerberg used to code at 14.
Right.
But no one
Right.
really thought kids can really code. And when I
Hmm.
learned coding, I really felt like I could have learned it in class 7th. I could have
Hmm.
really started in class 7th. I could have gotten started class 7th. And second thing I understood is, it's not an academic subject as much. If you want to make it, then it's a different thing. But
Hmm.
it's a working skill. Once you are very
Right.
adaptable, you can actually, like you draw really well. Then you can express your creativity through painting or drawing
Hmm.
or something
Hmm.
like that. Just like that, code is there, and if you have working knowledge of it, you can use this to express your creativity. Um, so that was the idea, and we talked to the parents, and parents were very much on board. I was very
Okay.
surprised that even they were feeling like, "Okay, this should have happened." And
Hmm.
possibly Bangalore parents who are
Hmm.
already in a certain kind of job, have gone through a certain path. I understand
Right.
all that, but I really sense that there's a good enough market which understands what you're talking about.
Hmm.
Uh, and we did first few classes for the kids, and we saw kids like waiting for the next, like when is the next class. We thought of it in a certain way. Um, so that is the idea. Like when you are going approaching product market fit, just be very honest with yourself. Don't try to
Right.
assume you have a product market fit. Go
Hmm.
talk to people, and if they are really excited about it, if they are not, just accept it. Don't
Right.
don't try to push it too much. And yes, once you get it, then we'll talk like how can you scale it up. But that was my journey to product market fit. I was delighted to find parents who were waiting for something like this.
Okay.
Uh, and that was our conviction too, that it should have happened by now. But it's not happening.
Right.
And I heard Bill Gates sometimes, on interview of Bill Gates in 2017, 18,
Hmm.
then feel about education. Like he was just visiting some schools. And somebody asked me, what do you think about it? What's your opinion? He said, like, I'm still surprised how less of a role computers are playing in education. I'm
Hmm.
surprised. Then I saw one interview of Steve Wozniak, where like somebody was asking me what advice you will give, because he's a pioneer in innovation. He kind of, with Steve Jobs, he kind of changed the world that we live in. He also said, like, college is too late. I don't like, it should have started earlier, because it's not about the skills, it's about the mindset that kids develop. So all these
Right.
ideas then just gave us conviction. We talked to the right people, and we were very honest with
Awesome.
ourselves, and we just started.
Right, right. So, I mean, I usually listen to the co-founder of Y Combinator, and they have a pretty straightforward answer for this. As you already spoke it, I'm just trying to reiterate it. Like, uh, so you talk to the customer, you talk to your potential customer, and they will tell you if they need it, and you did the right thing, right? And I think that's why you guys are scaling, and you have survived for first 4 years, which is like the most challenging part of any startup. So,
Right.
and just to tell you, I mean, in North American market as well, there's a huge potential for this. I am in Toronto right now, and I speak to like a lot of parents here as well, like a lot of immigrants who have migrated from India, and they see nothing as such here in Canada. Like, there are few players in this space, but nothing as dominant as market. I mean, there are few players in India who are like really dominant, right? There's a huge market potential here as well, specifically in North America.
Mm-hmm.
Perfect.
That's
So,
that's true.
tell us if you're funded, like, no, if you're bootstrapped or funded until now.
Yeah, we raised some rounds initially to
Hmm.
get started, but
Okay.
then we structured the company in a certain way that we
Hmm.
realized we can grow a lot from our own cash flows. So I like to say we are funded but self-propelled.
Awesome. So, I mean, tell us your opinion on bootstrap versus funded. So, people have this concept that, no, once I have an idea, I take the idea and run to VC, and I want to get funded. right? And then I will start the company altogether, right? So what is your opinion on bootstrap versus funded? Like how do you see it?
So I don't see they're against each other. I think both have
Hmm.
places in this world, and we have successful
Okay.
examples on both cases.
Right.
As someone who's aspiring to be an entrepreneur, even though I see that people are becoming more mature, but at
Hmm.
least 2018, 16, 17, funding startup was the same thing. It's not.
Right.
When you start a company, you should not be excited about getting funded and getting featured on somewhere.
Right.
Even I know it for an early age startup founder, that's something that's a big milestone. That feels like first time you're in news.
Hmm.
But but I realized that you should be excited about just making a business work, and sometimes you need
Right.
to for that.
Right.
So I'll say
Absolutely.
when you are early stage, you see that even if you have funding, even if
Hmm.
you got the check, you find the cheapest way to get started.
Right.
That will
Agree.
set the tone right. That will
Hmm.
that will like save you from faking product market fit. Yeah.
Hmm.
Say, like even if you got funded, just keep it in account and just find a way to launch your product in the cheapest possible way. Build a product,
Right.
a MVP in the cheapest product way. And then
Hmm.
once you start delivering it, you'll understand that how you can invest that money. If
Right.
you will
Right.
invest that money without having an insight, you will waste. Like
Hmm.
I read somewhere, I heard someone saying this that the there is a like sea of terrible products which were made from a lot of funding but without an insight.
Hmm.
Uh, Somebody from Sequoia, I think Sequoia US said this, but that's what I believe. So if you want to get started, just think of the cheapest way to launch it.
Right.
And funding and all, of course, You can talk to people. If you have your own money, don't think. But if you don't have, then talk to people and see if you can get some help. As you scale, keep asking yourself, what will you do? What will you do with this money? Why do you
Hmm.
need this money? Because once you get over this initial glamour, you will realize that you have gave away some part of your company.
Right.
Not a good feeling. Um,
Hmm.
it's not a good feeling, and it's not just money coming in. A lot is going out. A big equity is going out. A big control is going out.
Hmm.
Um, so why do that unless it's needed? If you see an opportunity to invest this money and scale the company, yeah, then make other people rich, get rich, fine. But if you don't see
Right.
that, then just keep doing. Just keep finding out opportunities which can actually absorb a lot of capital and grow fast and grow big. So
Hmm.
that's what I believe in. Some people never find that, or they see that whatever opportunities they're finding, they can self fund and they keep growing.
Right. Right.
So that is also fine. If you, it's just like focus is something else. Focus is not
Hmm.
like where the money is coming from. Focus is where the money is going
Right.
and
Right. So
what are the options available for money.
technically, what I could pick from your entire answer is like get started with a basic MVP at the lowest possible cost, right?
Right.
And see if there's a product market fit, and then iterate on this and see if you need the funding, right? If you can
Yes.
run through Bootstrap, I think that's awesome, right? And if you need like capital investment early on, I think getting into the funding uh, scenario is fine. But I think there's needs to be a lot of clarity on this as well, right? What you're building, right? And if you have found the product market fit, going through like funding sequence is also a good option. Like if you can talk about your first 6 months and know how did you acquire first few customers. I'm sure there's a lot of people, a lot of viewers out there who are trying to build in some space, right? And they are very confused that how would I get first few customers when I'm building that MVP. Let's know if I'm building the basic initial product with least amount of capital, how would I acquire those first few customers and how would I survive for first 6 months? I mean, if you can talk from your experiences.
Sure. Uh, Somehow I'll talk from my own experience, some what I see around. So if
Yes.
you're, it really fundamentally changes if you're a B2B or B2C company. It changes,
Okay.
the approach changes a lot.
Hmm.
If you are a B2B company, then directly just go out and talk to people and meet
Hmm.
founders.
Hmm.
Maybe you might not get very big meetings in the start, depending on which stage of your life you're in. But you can always find a seed Series A founder to understand where the problem exists. And most of the B2B companies I know, they build on their first customers. They like sell
Mm,
a set of customers and they build with them. We
mm.
work with a lot of SaaS companies who built with us. Like they asked us what needs to be built.
Okay.
Uh, some of them did a mistake that they just heard too much and followed
Mm,
what we said. Some were smart, which solved our problem, but in their own way,
right.
uh, or decided that we are not the customer. So
Mm,
that's the approach with B2B. Just go and meet. And this remains like this for a very long time. For a B2C company, um, even if you even if you sell to your friends or people you know, you never know whether they bought it just because they like you or they really needed it. So
right.
the a bit different here. And my approach sometimes I never heard anybody else saying this, but and it's not like very fancy approach, but just make a landing page and run ads. Like it's cost
Right.
anything.
Right.
And all these digital channels, they work amazingly for a lower scale. Like if you just
Mm,
small budget on say Instagram ads. I know I've recently realized that it has changed a lot. Like they want you to have a minimum budget to do something, but at that time it was not there. I
okay.
hardly I think 1,000, 1,500 rupees, 2,000 rupees, and I got certain just leads. I just called them up.
Mm,
And
nice.
good to be random there. It's good,
Mm,
but it's important that you're not going to your friends and family for this.
mm,
Yeah.
mm.
They will always have a bias, either positive or negative.
Oh, yes. Yes,
Reach,
definitely.
reach out like you're going to sell someone and reach out like a stranger. And then
Mm,
the real thing. So,
great.
so I'll say, in fact, I was talking to someone and he
Mm-hmm.
was thinking about it. Like one good way to test idea is just make a landing page on Webflow or something and then run ads and see what kind of people are planning up. And even if
Oh,
you know
awesome.
you need a landing page nowadays, you just make a lead form. It's a great way
Mm,
to. Of course, I don't suggest that you keep scaling like that. Uh,
mm,
when you are scaling, then think of organic channels, think of referral flows, think of like non-paid channels. Scaling is a very different thing, but just to test the ideas, this is a great way
mm.
to get started.
Perfect. I'm sure a lot of people would have picked good idea from here. Now, I mean, create a basic landing page, create a basic MVP, and now run ads, right? And see how customers actually react onto it. I mean, if they are reaching out to you, I mean, you will get to know at least in 10, 15 days, right, how your ads is performing and how many people are reacting to it, right?
I'll tell you something, not even 10, 15 days, but in few days, because ads just can show your idea to people.
Hmm.
People will click only when they will see, okay, this is something legit,
Right,
right?
right. Great,
Yeah.
great. Perfect. So, no, I see a lot of education company in India, right? They are in a rush to scale, right?
Mhm.
There's some sort of notion that no, I need to raise Series A, Series B, Series C, right, and then go for an IPO. So I saw that a lot of education company is on the verge of dying. I won't name them technically, but we all know it, right? So what do you think? What is wrong with the education company in India? Like, what is happening around?
Um, I'll say not just with education, but with a lot of startups.
Hmm.
I think it has been a life, like once in a lifetime experience for me being in the space before COVID and after COVID.
Right.
Uh, I have saw in 2021, 2022 the exorbitant funding that people got.
Hmm.
Mm, I still feel sick about it, but what happens is that you find one business model, one segment, and everybody gets
Hmm.
crazy. They fund a lot. And 2 years down the line, now everybody is saying that all the companies in that segment are getting shut down. I
Hmm.
think like five other industries like this other than education.
Right.
So what happened in education is people thought that COVID is coming and it's a
Hmm.
great opportunity and COVID is here to stay forever. And they
Hmm.
built the
Hmm.
company kind of an opportunistic manner.
Hmm.
There are successful examples in this, not in education, but maybe sometime else, where people found some opportunistic like this kind of opportunity and thought in an opportunistic manner and then build a company. I really don't feel that that should be
Hmm.
the. If you're starting something and you read some articles on TechCrunch and that's why you're starting a company, I sometimes think it doesn't work. You need to
Hmm.
have unique insight and a drive to make that company work. So
Hmm.
when I was talking to some investor, maybe in 2022, 2021, 2020,
Hmm.
I was like very funny, in a very funny way. I was always very sure that I let them know that I started before COVID.
Okay.
That's a weird thing. My co-founder really said that you make it very, very clear. Yeah, I want to make it very clear.
Hmm.
So I think what went wrong is many of the companies just gave up without being honest with themselves. So I think, they were there for they were here in this segment with a very different expectation.
Hmm.
Uh, that did not happen. So they kind of took a path that okay, we don't want to continue.
Right.
Um,
Right.
the other examples which started much before COVID and became very big and then like kind of are really not going anywhere. Um, the reasons are very complex. When the companies become very, very big, a lot of money gets in the picture. We never know what's right, what's not wrong. On the customer front, yes, a bit of aggressive selling was there. Uh, and one bad thing that happened is because it was the first time that such highly incentivized sales force was built on ground.
Hmm. Hmm.
Sometimes the customers who couldn't really afforded it were sold. Uh,
Right.
also a bad thing. I think whatever you do in the company, um, be it hiring a talent, be it
Hmm.
how I treat people in the office,
Hmm.
be it how do we treat the customer, be it like how do we acquire a customer or what kind of customers we acquire, we think of a bit long.
Right.
Nothing excites us like, okay, this thing we'll do, we'll get like 10 lakhs or 10 crores of business for this month. So 10 crores is
Hmm.
still on, but 1 crore kind of business, but it's not going to stay forever. Then we don't
Right.
feel like doing it. In the sense, like, or if we get this person, I want this person to spend at least 4 5 years with us. So
Hmm.
treat the person like that. I don't have to get all the value from this team member today only. I mean, team
Hmm.
send.
Building for future and keeping for future. Right.
So this is the kind of thinking was not there. Education is
Hmm.
a very interesting market, but it's a very sensitive market too. It's
Hmm.
e-commerce. It's not something you're selling cars, right?
Right.
You can actually go wherever you want to go, but education is something very sensitive. Uh,
Hmm.
it's a very sensitive topic. You have to keep your sensible hat on when you try to scale, and the quality is very subjective. So when these things are there, it can scale very fast. So our supply is digital, distribution is digital. We are across many countries,
Hmm.
and it's allow us to grow fast. But still, we understand that how fast to grow and what to remain in, like what should remain intact. What is
Hmm.
what is before growth? Growth is not the topmost thing, right?
Right. Right.
So
Right.
growth will happen, but a bit slower growth is fine. Like if you're growing, tripling every year, what's wrong with that? Why
Right.
you want
Right.
to grow 100x every year?
Absolutely. Absolutely. Shailendra, what I have realized here is a lot of education company in India, they started treating themselves as like sales and marketing company, right? They were fantastic sales and marketing company, but not an education. And they started comparing the metrics that is used in other industries for the success,
Exactly.
right?
Right.
And what I've realized is like education company will survive on outcomes.
Right.
And if you're not realizing the outcome, if you're not putting efforts on outcome,
Mhm.
eventually outcome will catch on you, right? And once the outcome catches on you, you'll have to shut the door, right? All the fancy offices, all the fancy VCs will not help you if you're not having outcomes in this, right?
Right. Right. Right.
Great.
Right.
Great. Perfect. Great. I had one question for you. Like, what do you feel about AI in education? Like, no, I was hearing this narrative. Everyone, like, no, since AI is there now, Chat GPT 4 is there. A lot of LLM models are coming up. So teachers will become obsolete in days to come. So, what do you have to say about that?
Um, there are few things. One is there are multiple ways we can multiple approaches we can have for this. One is
Hmm.
like, what do you think about AI? How what capabilities it will reach? I
Hmm.
believe it reaches to a great capability, but the moment that it reaches to a point where a teacher is obsolete, a lot more things will be obsolete. Maybe I'll be obsolete.
Hmm.
I'm
Right. Right.
sitting somewhere, um, checking, and just AI will be doing our work. So I don't think
Hmm.
even that is a bad scenario, but I don't think that
Hmm.
is happening right now. So, and if that is happening, then it's not just education, but a lot of things will change. Second,
Hmm.
second way, what I believe, what is the most probable, um, most probably will happen. So when YouTube came, and all of the world videos became free for you,
Hmm.
people thought that teachers will be obsolete. I
Right.
remember
Right.
saying that. Like we
Right.
were told that Coursera is there. Why will there be universities? But that did not happen.
Hmm.
You realize that a teacher is more than that. A human is more than that. I believe AI is a very positive thing that happened for education. It will make all the teachers much better.
Hmm. Right.
It can do a lot of things like which where teacher falls short. So it is the first time that you can talk to a technology like a human and it will
Hmm.
respond. But then it will be everywhere. So I believe that all the teachers should be trained on AI. They should be
Hmm.
which are which are which are built through AI and are used by teachers. And we should use AI to really enhance the learning experience of the kids. Uh, that should happen, and I don't think it will make things obsolete. In fact, it's a great tool that we have found, which can be used
Right.
in many areas, but even in education, it can be an amazing thing. So even
Hmm.
that's something that we are working upon. We developed our own uh, Noah AI. Uh, Now we were very clear that we don't want to just create a chat screen and just change the interface and say, okay, we built our AI. We were very clear we don't want to do that. Again, the same little long term thing. I don't like to just
Hmm.
showing off. Uh,
Hmm.
we really thought that there's a chat GPT and they have better model. And in fact, we use their model. They have
Hmm.
better, more data to train. What will we do with our own AI? Can we
Right.
train it from our data and make it uh, like very specific to our use case? We have
Hmm.
like around 8-10 crore minutes of live learning data. Can we use that? Okay, that's a good thing, but if ChatGPT can beat it anytime, they will always have more data than us
Right.
in their strategies. But what we have is this special context of the kid. Like
Hmm.
kids to us, kids is we know her class, we know her interest, we know what homework she's trying, we know what classes
Hmm.
she her teacher. And can we use this context as an input to this model? And then
Hmm.
let's create an experience for the kid beyond classroom. And can we use this tool to even supply some interesting insights to the teacher so that teacher can teach better? Can
Right.
we use this to understand where the child is lacking and just encourage the child to practice on things which matters? So
Nice.
that's how AI is. Like our AI is
Hmm.
not to replace teachers, but it's mean to assist teachers in a very
Perfect.
good way.
Shailendra, I also believe that teachers not only teaches you, but they also bring that emotional, psychological elements into the table, right? Where I mean, AI will not pat on your back and say that कोई नहीं सब ठीक हो जाएगा,
Right.
right? And then there's a teacher, right? And as you rightly mentioned, like no, I believe the human and the technology combination is going to be the best one, and that will be the killer into the picture. I mean, like that will boost up things, right? And that will help teachers to kind of do things that earlier it was not possible. Okay,
Definitely.
perfect. Thank you for that answer. I mean, that was amazing. uh Now, coming into your setting, like I'm just curious, like how I know how young kids are, right? No, I have niece, and I have I mean, I have seen few of these kids, right? They are like all over the place when they are young, right? So how are you are able to like motivate them to attend these classes, right? And keep them glued to the screen, if you can we talk about that.
Sure. Sure. Um, See, I actually, as I said, I was in social services in college. Going back to there, one of the things that I was involved in was a teaching project where I,
Okay.
along with a certain set of people, We used to go to nearby slum, uh,
Hmm.
and we used to teach kids there. And they
Okay.
are like very energetic kids.
Hmm.
They are nice in their own way, but they were very mischievous. And we had to
Okay.
like, and they don't have any compulsion even from their parent, but we kind of
Hmm.
sit out of a place and kind of try teaching them along with volunteers. So I had some experience in handling students. My philosophy of handling young kids is be friends with them. Like,
Hmm.
be even a little silly with them. Uh,
Right. Right.
just win their trust, and and I'll tell you, they care more about you than you care about them. That's what I've seen. Uh,
Nice.
as kids. So I think our teachers just follow the same. They all are very well trained teachers, so they also know this. But
Hmm.
still they iterate because everybody can have a different approach. But I insist that at least this part we should all have common, that we become friends with them, unless it's
Awesome.
possible to just make them sit. So
Hmm.
all our teachers are very good friends with the students. They celebrate their birthday. They insist that in the class we will celebrate our birthday.
Awesome. Awesome.
Just in sharing things which they do beyond their classes. So, learning outcomes, see, their kids are raging fire already in terms of energy and
Hmm.
creativity.
Right.
If you just inspire them in something, I don't think knowledge transfer is a big thing today. Google is there,
Hmm.
YouTube is there, there are great books they must get access to. If you kind of inspire them to do something at that stage, that is good enough. Even
Hmm.
have very solid learning outcomes that we achieve. Um, but we kind of keep a buffer that your learning outcome will be between this to this.
Hmm.
Say that it will be definitely this. Because more important thing is, did we inspire the kid? And what happens, even if the course is going slow in the start, once they get inspired by the teacher, by the end of it, they go even faster and complete things before the schedule comes. So
Awesome.
that's the approach that we take.
How do you, I mean, map out the success metrics in these students? Like, let's say they get onboarded at Codeyoung, right? And how do you make sure and how do you map out the success metrics in these students that they have learned something or they have achieved something what was intended earlier?
Sure. So there are multiple elements of a good success. Let's start with the first one, which I already talked about. That
Hmm.
these kids coming regularly to the class, and are these kids are maybe taking the continuation course. So that shows
Hmm.
that if a kid is getting enrolled in the class, and you will understand in some time that you can't really force anything on your kids nowadays.
Right.
So if the child's willingness is not there, a parent will not enroll. Parent will not
Hmm.
enroll. So that's the first thing, that is the child enjoying.
Right.
Second thing we did is that we have our own portal. So
Hmm.
we don't do it on any off the shelf video calling platform, but we do it on our own portal, and we've
Okay.
digitized all the homework and all the content that they consume. What
Awesome.
happens with that is that we kind of analytically, like from an analytics point of view, we can track that what they're doing, not an
Hmm.
individual, an aggregate, like
Right.
that what they're doing on the platform, how much time they're spending on the platform, and we
Hmm.
ensure that there's a exercise or homework map to each class, and they should be able to do it.
Hmm.
They lag behind, so the teacher knows that the student is lagging behind. I think should revisit some of the topics. Now with no AI, teacher even know which topics the student is lagging, and
Okay.
can actually go
Perfect.
back to that and revise. So
Hmm.
very simple. Like first thing is they should enjoy. Second thing is they should be able to solve some of the problems or some of the assignments on the platform. So these two things,
Right.
if they come together, a child is learning. That's what
Hmm.
we do for now.
Great, great. So basically, you are teaching these school kids, right? If I take a step back and try to understand the education system here in our country, if you see, so technically, the entire ecosystem is rewarding someone who is scoring more marks, right?
Mhm.
But what I believe is the education system should be more of teaching problem solving skills to these kids, and scoring marks should be the byproduct. But there's like other way around, right? Our education system is completely different where we enforce the marks, right? it must be challenging for you to like kind of teach these kids the skills, right, and not enforce I mean not enforce on the scoring part, right? So how do you convince parents that no, their kids are like kind of scaling and growing, and is there any metrics like marks, or no, it's completely based on the skill outcome you guys are putting forward?
Yes, I do think it has a lot to do about how do you assess, like you said, for marks. So marks is not bad, but how do you score these marks is something that one should ask. I remember in IIT Delhi, I had a professor. I liked him, but he was it was a course which was, and it was an optional course, but it was very difficult to get good marks in that particular course.
Okay.
Uh, so, and he was from Harvard earlier, and
Mhm.
then he IIT Delhi. So, one thing he used to do is that if you speak up in class, so this class was it's a humanities class, and the class is a discussion. There was always a discussion form, and if you
Mhm.
speak in that class, you have to just raise your hand, speak your name, and say what you have to say, and the
Okay.
TA behind the classroom will note down, and
Okay.
accordingly, some marks are associated to it. One of
Hmm.
the thing that IITs does is that it allows this autonomy. First, the college has a certain autonomy, and they give this autonomy to the teachers too. And this
Teachers
was
as well.
yeah, so this was very good, and he had very different kind of assignments. Like
Hmm.
there's a like you have to come and read an article and discuss it.
Hmm.
Discuss can about anything relate roughly related to what we're discussing. So, so the idea is that marks are not bad. It's just that how do you get these marks? And second thing
Definitely.
is that we should not be really too worried about the marks, but learning that is of like that is beyond education. Like sometimes you are
Hmm.
not the one. How do you deal with it?
Hmm.
That is a different learning altogether. But how do you get
Right.
marks and how it should reflect actual learning? That is a question.
Hmm.
That is a discussion that should have happened.
Right.
Uh, when we enroll kids in maths program, or science or English program, the expectation is clear from the parent side that I want him or her to score better marks in school, and that's something
Hmm.
that as a company is very difficult to really change. So what our aim always has been is that we'll help her score good marks in school, but
Hmm.
we'll also teach. But we'll also
Okay.
train you to teach. What
Hmm.
happens? Sometimes you can score marks but don't know the thing. But
Right. That was the point. Right.
yes, and sometimes it also happens that you know the thing but you can't score marks. I know very smart people. Like
Right. Right.
I
Right.
try to make them land into that you know the things and score good marks. Because we are one on one,
Hmm.
it gives teacher a lot of advantage to really do things which you can't do in a classroom setting where there are a lot of
Hmm.
kids. In
Right.
code,
Awesome.
it's not possible to assess marks. So we ask them to just create a lot of things. We just
Hmm.
see us what a child has made, like so many things, and
Right.
we help them collecting all these things at one place so that they can have a
Hmm.
collection of things that they created. So that
Awesome.
way,
Awesome. Great. So, Shailendra, tell us how do you, I mean, onboard your teachers, right? Because I believe they are the one who are shaping the neural network of these kids, right? They are very young, right? And these teachers have big shoes to fill, right? Now, big role to play, right?
Mhm.
In terms of shaping these people, shaping these young school going kids. So, talk us how do you vet them, and how do you like onboard teachers on your platform?
Yes. Um, so it changed. It has evolved over time, like how
Mm-hmm.
we in the starting years versus now we do it. It has evolved over time. But I'll tell you a bit about my our teachers, like who are they. So many like for younger kids, especially below grade six, most of them are actually ex-school teachers. Like they used to teach in school
Mm.
and
Okay.
now class, and they are one of the most passionate ones out of them. So they
Right.
already have skills and a lot of
Mm.
sensitive. How do you do behave with kids? For older kids, there are teachers. Yes, there's some ex-college. There's some college professors, young college professors who want to teach
Okay.
online too,
Nice.
and teach younger kids. There are some working professionals who have teaching as a passion. There are some working
Mm.
professionals sitting in a tier one or tier two, tier three town, so you don't get paid a lot there.
Right.
You have to be in your hometown for some reason. So they
Mm.
they also are on the platform. There are some mothers. So, uh, like a great thing for the country that now more and more women are getting educated.
Right.
But
Absolutely.
the reality is that when no, you expect a child, sometimes a woman has to take more of a hit, uh, and they have to be at home. But they're
Right.
talented and they are equally driven, so they can't sit at
Hmm.
home. They want to teach
Right.
online.
Right.
Um, so that way, it's a mix of all this. But we have a lot of people in India where thing is picking up. I know some people who
Hmm.
have a full-time job to teach at Codeyoung, and today they travel and travel in the day and maybe take out classes in the night
Hmm.
to a certain time and really enjoy what they're doing. So that is how our teachers are. We hire them through all the options, all the portals that we have, and our own strategies to reach out to them. But I'm
Great.
happy to share that around 40 to 50% of them actually come through referrals. Some teachers
Hmm.
teach us, and they refer other people. And what happens
Right.
is that you are looking for a certain persona, and you are
Hmm.
really friends with people who have a similar persona, or
Right.
that works really well.
Awesome. Awesome. So this is one last question, Shailendra. Like, how do you set up your curriculum? Is it like with experience of teacher, or you have some methods to like kind of because your curriculum will shape this, as I said, the neural network of these kids, right? So how do you kind of set up the curriculum? Is it the the company driven, or like the teachers driven? How do you manage that?
We were very, very clear that we make it company driven. And second
Mm.
thing we were very clear about is that we will have an independent thought in it. So for maths and science, say the school subjects, we follow the US curriculum standards. Um,
Okay.
so we follow that, and then it also is just a set of guidelines. It never tells you that what exactly needs to be there.
Mm.
So we have used that. For coding, we have developed on our own. Our idea of education is that if you are learning something new, it should
Mm.
it should empowers you to do something more. Like if somebody is
Right.
listening to this podcast, at least they will know
Hmm.
that they can create a landing page and test an idea. So,
Right.
so that's how
Right.
our classes are. That
Mm.
something should be done. Like if you have learned addition, then you solve some practical examples which are very relevant
Perfect.
to you. So
Perfect.
that is the thinking that we have taken. Rest is because in the society we live in, and it's just some things are very good in the curriculum frameworks that we have already.
Mm.
We make sure that we are not missing out on something important. We are actually covering everything that is out there, but in a way that kids enjoy it, and kids enjoy doing things. If you teach
Mm.
them football kick, they will start kicking balls from the next day, right?
Awesome.
So,
Awesome.
so that's how, like, if they learn something new, they will do that. So,
Mm.
so that's what we try to do from our classes.
Great. 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 Thank you so much, Salendra. It was a wonderful conversation. I really enjoyed it. And I'm sure all our listeners, all our viewers would definitely have enjoyed it as well. And now I would put up your link, like a Codeyoung link. I am sure like there are a lot of people who'd be interested after watching this.
Sure. Thank you, Mia. It was really great talking to you about education, and yeah, best of luck.
Thank you so much.